for the Plan Committee meeting for February 6th. It's 4 o'clock. Can I have a motion on the minutes? Second. All those in favor, contrary, carried. Our next meeting will be February 21st, right here in this very chamber. And I'm wondering, we have 4 work programs, whether we can vary the agenda over the next short while to give you no real questions and deal with the development after that. Any problem? Motion to vary the agenda, moved, seconded, all those in favor, contrary, carry. Okay, the first is the work advisory program for the Environmental Committee. And John, anything to add to that?
No, nothing further to add.
Any questions? Moved, seconded, all those in favor, contrary, carried. Thank you very much. And the next one is the Richmond Committee on Accessibility. Any questions? Anyway, anything to add?
Nothing further to add.
Nothing to add. Anybody else? Seconded. All those in favor, contrary, carried. And the third one is Child Care Development Advisory Program. And Christine, any questions of them? Moved? Seconded. All those in favor, contrary, carried. Thank you very much, staff. Okay, and the next item on the agenda, go back, is the application by Lansdowne and Phase 1 Limited Partnership for rezoning of 5300 Number 3 Road from an automobile-oriented commercial CA zone to a residential limited commercial zone, a ZMU 55 Lansdowne Village Center zone. And we have Baron, Suzanne, and Wayne. Okay, staff, we turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have nothing more to add to the report, but I'd like to give a brief overview of the project. Could I request to suggest to refer to the map image on agenda page PLN 28 of the staff report for the site location and context. The subject application is for the rezoning of a portion of the northeast section of the Lansdowne Shopping Center site for 3 parcels fronting Alter Bridge Way, as noted by the hatched area on the map. This is Phase 1A, totaling 6.19 acres. The application includes 14-story buildings over 2-level parkade on parcel 2 and 5, the westernmost parcels, and 2 6-story buildings over a single-level parkade on parcel 8 to the east. All the components of the development are consistent with the official community plan and city center area plan. The only amendment is the relocation of a minor north-south green link to the west edge of Quantland Street, which provides for greater efficiency in the layout of the rental units on the site. Referring now to PLN 50, the features of the proposed development include a total floor area of approximately 80,625 square meters, or 867,840 square meters, comprised of approximately 1,041 residential dwelling units. This includes 141 Lemur units, 151 market rental housing units, and 749 strata units. This also includes 2,124 square meters of indoor amenity space across all 3 parcels and 661 square meters of commercial space at the western side of the development. The application would comply with the Energy Step Code and connect to the city's district energy utility. It will also include 2 north-south greenways, including a 12-meter wide north-south green link between the 2 western parcels, parcel 2 and 5, and a 6-meter wide minor green link along the western side of Quantland Street. An east-west mews is proposed along the entire south edge of the development, phase serving as a pedestrian and cycling linkage with lighting, trees, and landscape elements. Referring now to PLN 102, the provision of Lansdowne Linear Park featuring pedestrian and cycling improvements in a combination of interim and ultimate condition, will be provided along the southern edge of the shopping mall site. Works also include an interim neighborhood plaza at the east end of the linear park. Provision of voluntary transportation demand management measures include an interim mobility hub, enhanced bicycle parking and repair spaces, transit passes, car share spaces, vehicles, and membership for the rental units. Significant transportation improvements include a multi-use path along Alderbridge Way, intersection improvements and extension of Hazel Bridge and Cooney Roads into the development site. The application would also contribute community amenity contributions for the Village Center bonus and T6 transit, totaling approximately $5.4 million. These funds are collected in an interim security account, which will be held until Council has determined what form of amenity is to be provided as part of future rezoning applications. Should the application proceed, it would be forwarded to a public hearing for input. The form and character of the application would be further reviewed through the subsequent development permit process. And the staff are available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions of committee members? Carol, you can push your button on if you.
Oh, I'm live. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So this is part of a really large project, and I was wondering if you could answer how many units, residential units, will be in all of Lansdowne at build-out?
Through the chair to Council Day, the total will be 4,300 units, and this phase 1A is 1,041 units.
Right, so did you say 4,308?
Through the chair to Council Day, it's 4,300 units, but this phase 1A is 1,041 units.
Perfect. And at build-out, how many people are anticipated to live at Lansdowne?
Through the chair, based on the estimate of 4,300 units, making an estimate of the size of units, it would be approximately 9,000 population.
9,000?
In terms of residents.
9,000.
Yes.
Okay, good. And how many of those would you anticipate would be school-aged children?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, while I don't have an exact number for the children of the 9,000, I can advise that this application is in compliance with the official community plan, and therefore provision for future school has been accommodated. So there's no additional need to accommodate for the children on the site. They're not in addition to what was anticipated in the OCP.
All right, that's interesting. Thank you.
Any other, Jack?
Well, I just want to follow up with the school question. Did the school board ever give us any indication that the number of children in this neighborhood, right, or in this area, would have to be accommodated? Did they ever give us any information about that?
Through the chair to Councillor Rao, when the city center area plan was developed, it is a procedural requirement that the OCP be referred to the school district for comment. That did occur in 2009 when the city center area plan was adopted. The city does have a policy agreement with the school board that individual applications are only referred to the school district if they involve an OCP amendment that would increase residential density. The threshold for referral is a minimum of an additional 150 residential units. There is no OCP amendment proposed with this that relates to use or density. The only OCP amendment that is proposed is the relocation of a greenway on the eastern edge of the site. In terms of school provision, when the master plan was reviewed, there was detailed conversations with the school district. The plan, the master plan for the development of the site, does outline 4 potential school locations. Those locations are co-located with city park space that would be acquired through the overall redevelopment of the site. The obligation or the responsibility to acquire a school site rests with the school board. The city does provide funding for school site acquisition. Every new development in the city does provide a charge per dwelling unit. Those funds are transferred to the school board on a quarterly basis.
Now, I understand that you're talking about the formal process, but we've been in communication with the school district for a number of years. So in the correspondence so far, did they ever indicate a number saying, okay, we need a school of this size in this neighborhood?
Through the chair to Councillor Rao, in terms of provision of new elementary schools within the city center, the school district does believe there is a requirement for 2 new elementary schools in the city center. The first school is intended to service the western side of the city center. They are looking to have that school operational by approximately 2028. In terms of the east side of city center, including the subject site, the school district's current projections indicate that they would need a school in that location or in this catchment area in approximately 2033.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Shall we Mr. Ersic, follow up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to draw your attention to a memo that staff provided to council on Friday. It actually deals with, in some detail, it deals with the development density, the number of units, the total number of units. And on that issue, I would note that what is proposed in this rezoning is entirely consistent with the master plan that council approved in November. Regarding the schools, I think Mr. Craig has already covered much of it. The bottom line is that through the 5 years that it took to prepare the Lansdowne master plan, there was ongoing discussion with the school district. The master plan itself identifies 4 potential sites. If the school district at any point lands on one of those sites, the city could then, with council's approval, designate the site and then leave it to the school district to come to an agreement for the purchase of that site with the property owner. Acquisition of school sites is not a municipal responsibility, and we actually collect and forward funds to the school district for that purpose. And frankly, the province is responsible for funding school sites as well. Now, in relation to this rezoning in front of you today, none of the 4 sites conflict with this rezoning application, none of them. They are all low, and on page 3 of the memo that I referenced, they're actually identified for you, the school sites. So from a staff point of view, we don't see any conflict between a potential school site on the property and the rezoning that you have on the table today.
Thank you. Very good.
Okay, Andy?
Thanks, and through the chair.
Yep, good.
Well, first of all, thanks for the report, very thorough again, and actually I did really appreciate the memo we got over the weekend. That was very helpful too, and a couple questions have just been answered. So the only one I have left is just in regards to the parkland and that space, and I remember, approving it with the master plan a few months ago. 20% is what the math adds up to, and so 2 parts to this. Is that a typical amount for development this size, or is that a little bit more or less? And also the configuration of the park is interesting, with a park on the south side on Lansdowne, and then you've got the linear park system going, essentially connecting, I guess, Garden City lands is the idea, and then running along the south side, and then, I guess, connecting in the future to the plaza and the amenity space that in the future would be provided there. And then also, I think the development separate from this on the west side of Number 3 Road is also putting in a linear park. So can you just explain the rationale for that and then just comment on the percent and how that fits in with what other developments have done?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, I'll do my best. and I'll speak to my colleagues to join in. In terms of overall provision of parkland on this site versus other sites, very difficult to compare sites. This is a very large development site. If I was to look at a recent multifamily development, I would look at the Polygon Talisman development north of Canby. That site provides approximately 10% of the overall area as parkland. In terms of park development overall, the city's approach is to designate park that services an area, and then to secure those sites either through acquisition or development. In terms of the orientation of the park as it's identified in the master plan, there were a number of considerations that led to that. The linear park along the south side is part of a much larger city parks initiative, and if you give me a moment, I'll refer you to the page in the staff report. What page is the OCP on?
It is
The attachment of the OCP.
37 on our page, I think.
Yeah.
PLN 146 was
No.
I think page 37 on our page, Mr. Craig.
Yeah, there's a few.
102 is one of the
Sorry, if I could refer you to page PLN 31. You will see on page PLN 31, there is a linear park that is to be established along the north side of Lansdowne Road. The intention is that linear park would connect the Olympic Oval Village all the way to the Garden City lands.
Right, so, okay. Yeah, I mean, I found that initially kind of appealing as kind of a grand boulevard type of thing. I'm not sure if I had one other question related to that or not, but anyway, that's it for now. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, yep. Alexa?
Thank you through the chair. Thank you for this report, and I think it's been a long time coming. I believe the staff and the proponent's been working on this for a number of years through the OCP process and through other things. Now, for construction and traffic management, because of the size of the site, there won't be any parking in neighboring neighborhoods or anything else, so it's all going to be able to be contained on site? Is that correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, should the rezoning proceed as part of the building permit, they will be required to provide a construction parking and management plan. Given the extent of surface parking available on the site, I would expect that all parking can be accommodated within the property.
Okay, thank you. Now, when I look at the minimum size of the units, the Lemur units seem to be bigger than the market. Is that something we've determined, or is that based on something else?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, the city does impose minimum or establish minimum sizes for our low-end market rental units. It is common that those units are larger than the market units.
I beg your pardon, sorry.
It is common that the low-end market rental units are larger than the equivalent bedroom size market units.
Okay. I think personally it would be more reasonable to have them the same size, because while we want everyone to have an opportunity to house their family and everything else, there's very little incentive to move on and to accept better paying jobs if you're going to have to move out, pay more for less, and stay in the same neighborhood. So it seems to me that we should be requiring the same as what we're requiring for marketplaces. But I think we're past that at this point, so I'm not going to suggest that we change it. But I think moving forward, it's more reasonable to keep it the same, especially when you've got places right in the same spot. I think what we're trying to provide for people is a hand up, not a hand out, so that people have an opportunity to, start earning, start improving their station in life, have opportunities to, get through that tough time when your kids are little and your income isn't that great, and then be able to move forward and move on. And I think that would be more fair moving forward. So that's good. Thank you. And, we did meet with school board the other day, and they are aware of the school situation, and they sounded like they understood. And it was explained to them that we would rezone if they had identified a parcel of property, but they haven't done that yet, and they haven't come forward with that either. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to the screen now with Michael. You still there?
Yeah, still here.
Okay, good. Thank you. You're on.
All right, thank you very much. Just a couple of questions. The first one, how much higher will Alderbridge Way be where it currently is heading eastbound, or I guess both directions? But I just wonder how much higher are we talking the road would be adjacent to this development?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, in terms of the road improvements, we do not expect there to be significant raising of Alderbridge Way. There will be significant off-site improvements, especially the introduction of pedestrian and cycling infrastructure along the south side of the road. But in terms of grade changes of the road, we are not expecting significant increases.
Oh, okay, thanks. Next questions I have are in relation to the tree replacement strategy. On page 22, it mentions in that first line that the applicant submitted a tree protection plan showing the trees to be retained and measures taken to protect them during development stage. It says that's attachment 9. And then when I go to attachment 9, it's the rezoning considerations from the city document. So I think it's attachment 8, but if you go to attachment 8, it's only one page there. It's just a map. It doesn't outline the measures taken to protect the trees. It just, unless it's in that really tiny text box in the corner there. But a couple of questions I have is my first question about the road being raised. Well, if I look on this map on our page PLN 105, attachment 8. It shows that a number of trees in the boulevard are to be retained, but then the stretch to the east, near the top of the page, are all to be taken. And in the report, it mentions that the developer is paying out to remove 16 city trees. And I wonder if those are the trees and why they would need to be removed if it doesn't look like they're all going to interfere with the driveway in. If you see what I mean on the map.
Councillor Wolf. 16 city trees located on the Central Boulevard and Alderbridge are to be retained. It's the 11 off-site trees located on the Central Boulevard and Alderbridge Way are to be removed for city roadworks and engineering requirements for reconfiguration of Alderbridge Way. There'll be 27 additional replacement trees to compensate for the removal of 11 city trees.
Okay, but all right. The other question then, I guess, to go back to my first one there, it said in the report that there was going to be a plan or more details. I know sometimes when a developer comes forward with this larger development, there's a much greater detail and breakdown on the trees. Like the diameter breast height and what species they are. Is this what we can expect for all the phases of Lansdowne development? Because this is not typically, I think, what we would get.
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf. We typically go into greater detail at the development permit process in terms of the greater detail on the trees. What we do have here is definitely information about the condition of trees, and with the number of trees involved, we've kind of booked it into sections.
All right, then I have no further questions. I'll just give a couple of comments now and then doesn't need to come back to me. I think what we maybe need before this comes forward is a full tree management strategy for the whole area, because to see so much get lost in this first phase and the rest of the development where all of the outdoor amenities getting pushed is far away from here, and it's going to be a very long time for the trees that they say they're going to replace to come to any sizable ability, and including, yes, they're planting more trees than they would have to because of the 2-for-1 ratio, but 76 of those trees are too small to even classify as under the bylaw. So very small trees in an area that doesn't have the ability like the current trees along Alderbridge Way had to grow to their size because they were manicured in that giant mound, which I think in innovative ways could be retained. And then my other comments are the sustainability of this, just going to, parcel 8 going to step 3 and parcel 2 and 5 only going to step 2. Again, this is the lead development in the first phase. So to see this low entry is disappointing. And I also would like to see more rental, although the numbers were appealing what were announced there to get so many close to the city center and SkyTrain, but I think the number could be far greater. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
all right.
I have more questions.
Sorry?
Sorry, I have more questions.
Okay, well, okay. Let's all have one first time round. Maybe staff can't answer these, and I'll have to ask the developer that. And I agree with Councillor Liu on the size of Lemur and Market. I'm wondering why it can't be changed now. Why it can't be changed now. And I guess following up on that is I'm concerned about the number of market rental. We don't have any 3-bedroom. Strata, the market, if you wish, is going to follow that. And when I look at the breakdown, over 50% are studio or 1-bedroom. And was there a reason for that? What, to not have more livability as a result of that?
Through the chair, if I could just ask for clarification on the question.
Well, why did we, in terms of the size, can we change it? Now, when we say, hey, come back and make them 20 square feet here and 30 square feet here. The other question is on our page 13, when I look at it, well over 50% are all 1 studio or 1-bedroom. They're not 2-bedroom and 3, following up on the comments we've heard around with regard to family. The interesting thing with Lemur, especially, those with and the market rental, those will probably be people who will have children. And that's why I'm wondering why we didn't have a few more and at least some 3-bedroom in terms of market rental.
Thank you. If I could just make sure I understand the nature of the question. In terms of the low-end market rental units, is the concern that those units are too large or too small? The city's affordable housing strategy does specify the minimum unit sizes. So in terms of the low-end market rental units, the unit sizes listed in Table 2 on page 13, those are the minimum sizes as per the city's affordable housing strategy. We would require direction if it is council's desire to pursue smaller units, as that would be an amendment to the affordable housing strategy. If the nature of the question is why are market rental units of a different size, I would refer that question to the developer. In terms of the city's market rental housing policies and unit mix, we do have a target with respect to family-friendly units. Family-friendly units are classified as 2-bedroom or larger, and the proposal does comply with the city's policy in terms of family-friendly units.
Okay.
If I have misunderstood the question in any way, I'm happy to
I'm not looking for smaller units, I'm looking for larger units, but I'm looking for more units on it. My next question is, we're having only 2 towers of 14 story, one of 14 and one of 13 stories, and an 8 and a 6. Why do we stop there? We've got towers all around the place. If we're going to do it Was the developer the money? And that's what I say, you may not be able to answer the question. I have to ask the developer. You know, why do we have another tower in there?
Through the chair, I'll take a stab at the question. If the question is, why is there not more density proposed?
Yeah.
In terms of the OCP master plan, the master plan does look to locate density closer to the Canada Line station.
Right.
The density is to reduce as you transition eastward. In terms of this development, it does comply with the OCP master plan. We have the only current policy support for additional density would be rental units exclusively.
As you remember, the reason I'm asking that is we agreed a number of years ago to have 60,000 people in the downtown core. And that's why I'm asking that question, is we were going to densify the downtown core more so than it is now, regardless of what's in the OCP. Okay. I'm going to stop there. I've got some other questions asked. Carol, I'm going to go back to you. And
Yeah.
I said, Andy, you were up and you're off now? Okay.
Thank you very much. It's just funny how when we start talking about the details, you know, the devil is in the details. And everyone has brought up some excellent points that certainly have given me room for concern. So when it comes to the rentals, if we had higher density, we could potentially have more rentals. Is that not correct?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, there's a number of factors that would contribute to that. Generally speaking, more density could allow for more rental units. There is obviously an economic viability question that would need to be answered within that, but it would be possible, yes.
Okay, that's good. So then we have other developments coming down the pipe where it's 100% rental, and there's, I understand, quite a market for pensions and whatnot to purchase these buildings because they're an excellent economic generator. Is there some reason we couldn't go in that direction with this development?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, I think that's a question best answered by the applicant.
Okay. Next one is... Okay, the size of lemur and Steina condos. Yeah, I do find it a little odd that the lemur units are considerably larger than the other units. But I'm really concerned that there are no 3-bedroom market rental units, whereas in our lemur, there's 31.9% that are 3-bedroom. Given that families have nowhere to live, it seems to me that we should build for the demand, which is clearly for families. We want them to stay in Richmond, and there just isn't enough places to live. So why could we not increase have some market rentals in the 3-bedroom category as opposed to none?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, again, I think there's a question best directed to the applicant with respect to the unit mix. In terms of staff's review, our target is to ensure we meet the city's policy in terms of family friendly, and this development does meet that target.
Which is why we keep waiting for that OCP to bring us more changes. And again, the strata units, only 4.9% are actually 3-bedrooms. So I will be asking the developer about that. The other concerns I have are, it's really boxy. Like, I guess this is the best we can do, is just a square box. Was there any way to make it a little more creative? Because I drive downtown Vancouver and they've got some pretty cool looking buildings, and this is just a square box. So, any thought about design? Is there room, if we had more height, we could maybe have more of a swoop or a bit more design to the buildings?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Day. The form and character of the building will be reviewed in greater detail at the development permit phase. So further attention can be paid. There was quite a bit of discussion and revision to provide quite a bit of detail and articulation in the buildings that some of these images, I believe, don't quite do it justice in terms of the scale to fit them on the page, but it will be reviewed in greater detail at the development permit stage.
Yeah, I think I'd want to see something a little more significant well before that. And then Councillor Wolf brought up a very good point about the tree plan. If you look, that teeny tiny box is the development or the plan for the trees. I mean, this is not readable. Is it possible to get a more detailed description of how the trees will be dealt with? Because this tree retention and protection detail is anything but a detail. Can we get something else?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, there will be greater detail provided at the development permit stage in terms of the full detail. If we wanted something further sooner, we could provide something via memo as well.
My biggest concern, though, isn't any of those. It is the island that we're calling the park. It's just a little blob in the middle there, and I handed this out to the rest of councillors. I don't understand the reasoning for the linear park when what we really need is a more significant park. You mentioned earlier, Mr. Craig, that Polygon gave us 10% parkland in that development. What percentage of the Lansdowne is going to be parkland?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, 20% of this site is designated as park.
But is it like this, where it's just like little strips, sort of, because...
Through the chair to Councillor Day, the park is comprised of 4 components.
Yeah.
There is the linear park, which extends from Number 3 Road to Kwantlen along the southern edge of the site. That is intended to provide a pedestrian and non-motorized linear transportation feature. There is a public plaza and park proposed at either end of the linear park, one of which is to be co-located with a potential city facility yet to be determined by council on the western edge of Number 3 Road and Lansdowne Road. And then the main component is a large central park.
So if some kids wanted to play soccer, where could they play?
The large central park is large enough for play fields.
And what-
Ultimately, the park design would be subject to a separate process to be approved by council.
Okay, well, I feel like we shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves. The linear park, what would it be used for other than just getting from east to west or west to east?
Through the chair to Councillor Day, it will also provide for passive recreation, so there will be seating areas, there will be gathering areas, the design of which will be determined through the park plan.
What's the width of that linear park?
Through the chair for Councillor Day, it's 14.5 meters
I'm sorry.
width. It's 14.5 meters width, and in addition to that, it's 5.5 meters frontage area.
14.5 meters wide.
Yeah.
How wide is the average multi-use pathway?
3 meters approximately.
3
meters.
3 meters, right. So really, we could put a 3-meter greenway multi-use pathway and gain 9 meters and potentially add that to the central park. So it could possibly be less of an island and more open to the south side where Lansdowne Road is. So I feel that we've wasted our 20%. I don't like that it's divided up into little tiny, neighborhood plazas on the east end, and then we've got a reasonably good size on the Civic Plaza, but it's probably mostly going to be pavement. So I would like to see a multi-use pathway on the south side with that 9 meters that would be left over, could be dedicated to the central park. And the reason this is so important to me is I look at Lansdowne development as our crown jewel. It is going to be the center of Richmond. It's absolutely critical that we get it right. And if you travel around Europe, every city has got a town square, and it's where everything happens. And I feel that if we wasted less of this 20% and concentrated it in the center park, we could have something really significant. So I would be prepared to move a motion to send this back for one more look, in particular to do with parkland.
No. Okay, you're finished?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ersick, I see you here. Maybe
Yes,
here on-
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry.
just a couple of points. I really don't think this has anything to do with the OCP review. That comment was made. The Lansdowne Master Plan was over 5 years in the process and the making and was approved in November of 2023, 3 months ago. And we actually feel that we did get it right, quite honestly. And there are many good reasons why the parkland is configured the way that it is. The linear park is a concept that goes back to the Richmond Olympic Oval. And this segment will connect from Garden City to the riverfront. So it's part of a bigger concept that frankly has been accepted for almost 15 years. So the concern that I have is this development complies with the master plan that was approved by council 3 months ago. And even if there is a concern with the configuration of the parkland and it was missed through that master plan process, certainly from staff's point of view, it wasn't missed. This was a conscious design, and it's the culmination of a lot of consultation with the community and good design experts. But even if you do want to open up the parkland, I'm going to note that this rezoning application that you have before you today does not affect that parkland. There is nothing more in this site than a walkway, albeit with a small change in location. So it is possible to move ahead with this rezoning and, if you wish, open up the parkland. But you know, quite honestly, I'm not sure why we're talking about this after 5 years and a fresh approval on the master plan. With regard to the rental, it is important that the development community understand what the rules are. It's important to viability of projects, and it's important for the city in order for us to be able to demand and get the amenities that we get. And quite honestly, this notion of all rental, it has been discussed and discussed and discussed all through the master plan process, and it is not a requirement of the master plan. The master plan requires that the development on this site comply with the policy of the day, and this project does. It contains 15% Lima units and 15% market rental units. And so it fully complies with the council-approved policy. And certainly we can talk to the applicant about whether they want to do more rental, but I just want to make the point, this is a freshly approved master plan, and this development is in compliance with that plan.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alchuk?
Yes, since people are beginning to ask detailed questions, so I have some. For one, so in terms of area percentage, you mentioned that 20% of the site is designated green space or park. So just by the center park alone, what percentage is it? 15, 12? Roughly, I don't need the exact figure.
Just one moment.
Sure. 4.5 acres.
Thanks. To the chair, to Councillor Au, the center park is 4.7 acres of the 10 acres park, so roughly 4.47% of the park. And if you take a look at the 20% of overall park being the 20% of this overall site area, that equates to approximately 9% of the site.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. 9% of the development site.
9%.
Right, which is
Carry
good.
on.
Now, and my follow-up question is, did we ever contemplate to have a soccer field in the center park? Was that ever been considered?
To the chair, to Councillor Au, soccer field can certainly be considered. Like what Mr. Craig has just said, all these details would be further developed in the park master plan process. And that process would involve consultation with the wider community, all stakeholder user groups, as well as eventually being approved by council as well.
So at this point, we don't have to worry about that?
At this point, we don't have any details. We are about to start the public engagement process for that part, the park master plan.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, my next question is on about page 16, the bottom paragraph, community amenity contribution. If I understand it correctly, we are taking money and not asking them to build a building or a facility. My concern is that, if you take the money now, due to inflation and rise of cost and everything. So at the end, we don't have enough money to build the size that we want to have. So why don't we ask developers to commit to build a facility of certain size to what we want?
Through the chair to Councillor Rao, the master plan for Lansdowne identified the potential for a large civic facility anchored at the corner of Number 3 Road and Lansdowne. The scale of that facility is approximately 50,000 square feet. The use of that facility is yet to be determined by council. What we have secured through this development is that we will receive cash that would be used towards the construction of that facility. Those funds would be deposited into a holding account, which would be used exclusively for development of a facility on this site, should council decide. In terms of inflationary increases, there would be potential implications in terms of inflationary construction cost implications. What I would say is that trying to build a 6,000 square foot childcare facility as part of this phase would likely not be of sufficient size to achieve an early childhood development hub, such as what is being secured on the Celtic site, and would provide a much better benefit to the community.
Well, but I understand that, but again, my question is, why don't we ask them to just to commit, okay, whatever size that we will have for the facility, why don't we ask them to commit to pay for 544 square meters of building costs?
Through the chair to Councillor Rao, I understand the comment now in more detail. Right now, what we've secured is a cash commitment. That cash commitment allows council to make a future decision. If I understand the nature of your question, we would be securing an obligation from the developer to build approximately 6,000 square feet of facility in a future phase. That is something that could be done. It would require some further discussion with the applicant, and it would require a change to the rezoning considerations.
Well, I have to make my position, I would prefer building of square footage rather than give us the money now to be eroded by inflation.
Through the chair to Councillor Rao, the one potential consideration I would advise is that there has been no commitment made or decision made by council that a facility will be constructed. To pursue the arrangement that you are suggesting does place some commitments or obligations that there will be a facility on the site.
My last question is on page 18, the top second paragraph. Now, so it's because of change of the provincial regulations, so the requirement for off-street parking spaces would be less. So again, how much more land or space is being released for this because of the change of regulation? And what will be the use of this extra space? Due to the
through the chair to Councillor Rao, there is really no change to this development. As this development was in stream when this legislation was introduced, we had already negotiated a specific parking rate for the site and the specific transportation demand management measures to be provided.
Okay.
What has transpired since then is the province's rule that prohibits the city's ability to require a certain amount of parking. In this instance, that amount of parking had already been agreed to by the city and the developer in meeting both our objectives.
Okay, so there's no extra land being released because of the change?
Not with respect to this development, as both parking structures are under the buildings.
Okay, good, thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay, are there any other questions at this stage? Okay, thank you very much. I assume I've got a speaker delegation center, and I'm assuming the applicant has 3, so you'll make a presentation then? Or do you want to make a presentation now?
Go ahead right now.
Well, I've got three others off-site that want to.
Why don't we start and then go to...
All right, come on forward then. Okay. Okay, introduce yourselves, and
Great,
we're going to give you more than 5 minutes.
great. I'll start, and we'll keep this short. Honorable members of the Planning Committee, my name is Dan Kupa. I'm Vice President of Development with Boza Properties, part of the applicant team, joined together here with Van Prop and Marianne, and they'll introduce themselves in a moment. On behalf of our team, I just want to say that we're thrilled to be bringing forward Phase 1A of the Lansdowne project. Needless to say, and this has already been mentioned here in the chambers today, that this has been a long time in the making. With all the work that Van Prop has done together with the city and the community over the last number of years on the master plan and the OCP amendment, which was enacted last fall. Our role, Van Prop introduced Boza Properties into this project. Our role is really about delivering on that vision and on the concept, starting with Phase 1, as described in the council report and as presented by the team here at staff, the staff team. Phase 1A offers a massive amount of public benefits as outlined by staff and as outlined in the report. Briefly, it's the housing units, it's the 292 rental units, of which 151 are market rental, 141 are Lemur. On top of that, which is the largest contribution of affordable housing under the new Lemur policy to our understanding. On top of that, rental housing, there's the over 2 acres of open space and parks that get delivered as a part of Phase 1, the sustainable green infrastructure, the engineering works, the district energy system that will be deeded to the city, community amenity contributions, and more. Together, all of these components add up to, based on our estimates, over $150 million in public benefits, which is an unprecedented and meaningful contribution to the city in our estimation. And just to leave it off, at Boza Properties, we've been operating this market for many, many years, and building housing is in our DNA. And with the continued cooperation of the city to continue this application of Phase 1A to move forward, we can start to deliver on this vibrant community and get the much needed housing built on what is now an asphalt parking lot. With that, I'll hand it over to the rest of my team.
Great, thanks, Dan. Jesse Gallus here from Van Prop, Senior Vice President of Development. Oh, can you hear me okay there? Okay. Pull the whole box here. There we go. Okay. Can you hear me now okay? Great, thank you. Honorable members of the Planning Committee, my name is Jesse Gallus. I'm Senior Vice President of Development with Van Prop. My colleague Dan has made a great introduction here, so I'm not going to iterate a lot of the great things that are coming forward with the project, but just really want to note how excited we are to be here today. A long process in the making to kick off the Phase 1 redevelopment of Lansdowne and the redevelopment of the site, something that we're extremely proud of and excited to get moving on, especially in this environment when housing is so needed. And we're really excited to be working with our partners in Boza Properties and what they bring to the table and to help us execute this first phase and get the project rolling. So with that, I'd like to pass it over to my colleague, Marianne here from KPF, the design architect.
Thank you, Jesse. My name is Marianne Kwok. I'm a design principal at KPF, Global Architecture Practice. I grew up in the Lower Mainland, and so for me, this is truly rare, special, and a great responsibility to design a project in my hometown. We are really excited about bringing a community-centric, people-first project to Phase 1 of Lansdowne, and we are really excited that it is integrated residential with a significant amount of low-income housing that has community uses and parks. And so to transform what is a very dated suburban Lansdowne with its surface parking lot, as Dan has said, to a new urban village, a vision of something that with the sensitive master plan that is enacted, we really feel very confident that we can create a very meaningful community for everyone in Richmond.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All right, no, don't go away. We've got questions for you. Okay, I'm gonna lead off. again, you're building only 2 towers, okay, and you're building 8-story and 6-story. Did you not consider all towers in the overall plan?
So the current, building size across the 3 phases is in line with the OCP in terms of overall distribution of density, and the overall size of phase 1 at just over 860,000 feet across all 3 parcels is in line with the contemplated FSR that we've entered into for phase 1. And so that distribution of density, again, in line with the OCP, and the overall size in line with the OCP, and that's what we've been moving forward with.
So you just followed the minimum that we have in the OCP is a guideline. It's not a Bible, it's a guideline. So that's why I asked you the question. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
there is also a flight path to the airport, which is probably a big consideration, and we can't build any taller than the 14 stories.
Plane's going to hit 2 of your towers then. Okay. The flight path, they already got 2, so my ask, why didn't you have 3rd possibly? Okay, if I may continue. In terms of your sustainability, I meant to ask you that. Can you not go up to step 3 or 4 on all of them? And tie in also to our thermal energy?
So
I guess I'm wondering, you're getting off with step 2 and 3 and the thermal energy. Richmond is probably the leader in thermal energy in the Lower Mainland. And I'm thinking, this is, as we mentioned earlier, this is a gem in if you wish, the pearl in the mouth of the dragon right here. Okay, so let's get it right. We're only getting one shot at this.
Yes.
Okay, and so I'm just wondering, can that be moved up?
Yeah. The phase 1 application, just to maybe to correct the statement there, for parcels 2 and 5 is step 2 with low carbon, so we are tied into the district energy system, and as outlined in the OCP, we're going to be fulfilling the requirements of building that central plant and deeding that and handing that over to Lulu as part of the requirements. And so we do meet that additional standard that you were speaking to.
Yeah. My question that was to staff, in terms of the breakdown of suites, in market rental, can we do 3 bedroom? You have none right now. Is there a possibility to do some 3 bedroom for families?
Councillor McNulty, the tenant mix that we've established across all 4 components were based on a market needs assessment that we had done ourselves. The Lemur, in working with Success, we have a higher portion of 3 bedrooms, as you'd mentioned, much higher than the policy. In fact, based on our needs assessment, the market rental has a high quotient of 2 bedrooms, which is in line with city policy, and then we also have larger units within the strata component as well. We're going to be moving forward into the development permit phase, and while at this point, ideally, because our design is advanced, and all of the inputs that have gone into our process thus far have been based on a lot of inputs. That is something that does have the potential for some movement as we do advance. And so just wanted to give you a basis of where that mix came from and how we see it going forward.
All right. Just have one other comment or question. There is a child care facility, and I agree with my colleague here. I'd rather have a commitment for child care, because for 10,000 people, you're going to need more than one child care. You can't put more than 30 students or children or 35 children in any one place. So you're going to need at least 2, maybe even a 3rd one, if you were able to get into childcare. So it's just a comment or an observation on that, and whether that can be thought in down the road. And some childcare opportunities in this facility as well, for up to 30 students, children.
In terms of a commitment beyond the LC that's being...
Yeah, can you commit to look at a childcare facility in there We're going to fill the place, 250 things. They got kids. Where are they going to go to work, et cetera? There's no childcare left. Only 1/3 of all the children are looked after in the whole province of British Columbia. We know it's an issue, and it will be an issue. So I'm asking you, can you put X number of spaces together to have an indoor childcare and supposedly get a park out there?
Councilor McNulty, the childcare facility is not considered as a part of the Phase 1 application, but again, there's a commitment that's being put towards it in line with the requirements that have been put forward by the OCP and by staff to protect for that in the future.
Okay, I may have some more questions for you later. Councilor Hobbs. Sorry.
Thanks, and thank you, and through the chair. Well, again, thanks for being here and for answering some questions. I agree with the comment Councillor Day made, is that this is an opportunity to build a real crown jewel in the center of Richmond. And I think that what I've seen so far and voted for in the master plan is moving in that direction. Just in terms of density, just a comment, and then I do have a question, but when we talk about higher towers and more density, the concern I do have is part of making a crown jewel is balancing off that density versus livability. And so what I've said in the past to other people is I'm not really looking for Soviet style, East Berlin blocks, as far as the eye can see to max out density, although there's a balance to be achieved, I think. So, and just on the affordability and the lemur, I was really impressed actually when I looked at the 2 and 3 bedroom opportunities with the lemur in particular, because we've talked about that a lot at council, making it family friendly. And my basic math, that adds up to about 66%. So a good chunk 3 bedroom, good chunk 2 bedroom. When it comes to the market ones, maybe you can just explain for me, I imagine, and I think you just kind of commented on it to Councillor McNulty as well, there must be a formula or a market analysis, because when I think of 3 bedroom strata or market rentals, and I think of the rate we charge for rent now in the Lower Mainland, I would think that the rent for a market rental might be so high that your analysis shows that there's really not that much demand for it. And then for the stratas as well, it's a price point. We know everything's expensive, so 3 bedroom is going to cost X amount more than a 2 bedroom strata, and rent is going to be more for a 3 bedroom versus a 2 bedroom or 1 bedroom. So can you just explain a bit about the market analysis in layperson's terms so that I can understand what goes into that, and why is that number there, and why is there no 3 bedroom market rental?
Yeah, no, Councillor Hobbs, through the chair, that's exactly it. And when I was referring to a needs assessment that we conducted together with our operating group, that's some of what we factor in when we put together a unit mix, tenant mix for market rental. Under Boza Properties, we operate a number of buildings throughout the region. As a group, as an entity, on a property management and asset management basis, and it's the 3 bedroom units that are often more difficult and to have less demand. And so it's one of demand that we see based on our experience within the Lower Mainland market that drives some of that need.
Okay, and I'll just wrap up with a comment. I think is that for me, the 3 bedroom ones I can see being very attractive for some people, but then the people that can afford a 3 bedroom strata or a condo or rent a 3 bedroom unit probably aren't my primary concern, because what I'm really excited about with this one is the lemur and the market rental, because a housing affordability crisis, I'm a little bit more concerned with the people that are in that category of income that can afford those. So I'm excited about the prospect of getting more affordable housing and lemur into the process. So thank you very much.
Okay. Alexa, you're...
Thank you through the chair. Thank you for this presentation. I appreciate your support or what you've put forward. I've been to South Korea, landed in Incheon, and driven into the city and seen their massive blocks of 10 in a row of those big high-density buildings. These don't look like that. So while they are square, they don't look like that. They look different. There was comment, though, about some of the buildings that are going up in Vancouver that are more maybe iconic, like the Butterfly and the Vancouver House. You think of something like Marina City in Chicago. those are significantly more expensive though. So like if we're looking for some sort of affordability in living in city center in Richmond, like what kind of difference are we talking about to have something like that, like the Butterfly? Like, isn't that something like $2,500 a square foot it's selling at or something? Like,
Yeah, our intended positioning and the end users that we see coming to Lansdowne are diverse, but don't fit that same segment of luxury that you'd find in a downtown project like the Butterfly, and you know, the cost of putting something like that together is on an order of magnitude larger, and that cost of course gets, you know, passed on to the purchaser, renter or end user in this case. And so you know, this project is about appealing to a broader segment from our estimation, and not one of just a strictly luxury cohort.
okay. And, you know, I see that there's lots of shops and restaurants and everything else, so it should be fairly dynamic. People can walk to things and go places. We have seen in the last few years this huge glut of delivery. And so it was hard for me to tell by looking at the designs how that's really accommodated for that massive amounts of delivery that seem to happen everywhere in the city that we see now. Is there sort of a master concept of how things are getting delivered? Food, Amazon, IKEA, whatever, like everything's got to be delivered to these places.
Absolutely. We do put a lot of thought into that, and I don't know, maybe I'll pass it to Marianne to speak to that. But in terms of, you know, the pathing of all those uses and how they're facilitated within our buildings, it's absolutely something that's top of mind and that we're thinking more and more about. And so, you know, there's been a lot of good work together with staff, planning staff and transportation engineering, together with our consultants, on thinking through, you know, how that could work. And there's been some great ideas, in fact, that the city's brought forward to sort of make tweaks and slight modifications to the original concept to accommodate efficient and effective movements in the age we find ourselves in, where there's a lot of that ride share and drop off activity that we see.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any, Carol? And then
I was just reading through, I don't know.
well, we still have three delegates to.
I'm terribly sorry, I'll make it real quick.
Okay.
The Housing Needs Assessment Report that came out, I think in 2019. Have you read that report?
Yeah, couldn't recite it in detail, but I know components
Yeah.
of it. Yes, have read it for sure.
You haven't got it memorized? Okay. Projected needs for 2021 to 2026 for 3-bedroom plus is 2,200 units that we need. That's why I think everyone here is concerned about the lack of 3 bedrooms. It goes, I can go into all the details if you want, or you could just read the report when you have time, but 3 bedrooms plus projected need 2021 to 2026 is 2,200 units. We're going to get how many? 3 bedroom? Like, we have to look at the big picture, you know. There's so many people can no longer, owning a home is off the table. It's just not going to happen for a huge percentage of people, and that report goes into detail of that. And so we need to accommodate the renters that are so desperately looking for a place to live. And when I think about families leaving Richmond, it breaks my heart. And that's why I think we need to find ways to accommodate them. And that's why I know you've been asked numerous times by a number of councillors, do you see any way of tweaking what we have to get us more family-friendly units, especially 3-bedroom?
I think I would restate, you know, the answer that I given previously, Councillor Day, respectively, that you know, within the lemur, you know, based on our understanding of policy, where the requirement for 1 bedrooms is 5%, and we're delivering over 30%. We're delivering, you know, I think a 6-fold increase in what the requirement is for lemur, and we feel quite proud about that. And in terms of what that contributes to that level of housing stock, and again in collaboration with our partners in Success as having informed that. And in terms of the market rental, we're at a position where we believe that this is what, based on our experience and our knowledge, supports the mix that we have to date. And in terms of moving forward through the DP process and tightening the numbers, because there is still a little bit of potential for movement there. There might be something we can do, but we feel very confident about the tenant mix that we've provided as part of Phase 1 application.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much. Don't go far. Okay, any other questions? We've got 3 people on the, and Mr. Clerk, can you type in the first person? Tyler Pronick. Are you here, Tyler? Hello?
Hello.
Oh, you're on. Put your video on and you'll be able to see us. We'll see you.
Sounds good. My video's on. Can you see me?
Nope, not yet. Coming. Thank you very much,
There we go.
Tyler. Great, thank you.
Can I begin?
Yep. You've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, good to see you.
Really appreciate the opportunity to be here and to address the room today. I've been a 10-year-long Richmond resident. I'm choosing to raise my 4 children here, all active in the public school system, and I myself have served on many community boards, both here in Richmond and beyond. I'm really pleased to see that the first phase of this important project is moving forward today, and hope to see Council continue their momentum towards making a really impactful and positive step for the city's future at the site. I think overall the vision for Lansdowne will bring a significant benefit to the community. That's through things like housing, public space, childcare, new office and retail opportunities, and a new community center. I can appreciate how much detailed planning has already gone into this, as it's falling on the heels of a 5-year master plan. And I know there's been a lot of careful balance of uses approved with the approved uses will work together and ultimately ensure the master plan vision to success at the end of the day. All that said, I know we're here to focus on Phase 1, so I will just share my main points here. First of all, the project's going to bring over 1,000 new homes to the community, with just shy of those being over 300 rentals. We've heard a lot of conversation tonight, and you can't watch the news without talking about the desperate need for houses being built. I'm really pleased to see that we're going to have housing in market as well as below market rental housing, and this has been prioritized in Phase 1 so that people can start moving in and benefiting right away. 140 of these homes are going to be the low entry market rentals, which is a significant amount of approved affordable housing. I myself am on the board for the Red Door Housing Society, where we provide affordable housing across Lower Mainland. Currently don't have anything in Richmond, but hope to one day. But 141 units is a game changer when we know how long those lists are for people that are looking to gain rentals. I also think that for the first phase of such a large project, the developers really managed to pack a lot of other public benefits into the application. Pleased to see this. Things like the linear park along Lansdowne Road or the proposed green links will provide immediate benefit to pedestrians, cyclists, and other people that use the site daily. It's in my opinion, these elements are critical in terms of starting to bring the broader community into and using the site, and will create easy linkages to the subsequent phases. Lastly, I just want to touch on the overall design to put forward in Phase 1. I think it looks great. Obviously, a lot of thought has gone into how the buildings will integrate and how the community today and the overall vision of the site's future. So big kudos to the planning team for making it happen. Like Councillor Day, I think about the people who are going to stay in Richmond. I'm raising my 4 kids here, and I think it's developments like these that are going to create housing options for the next generation. And we need this one, but we also need many, many more. So all in all, I'm happy to see that the first phase of this project has come forward so soon after the master plan took approval. I know it took a long time to get to this place, but I'm pleased that we could see shovels in the ground soon enough. It's great to see the movement from both the landowners and council to realize the vision for this property that many people across Richmond have been looking for and contributing to for so long. Thank you.
Any questions of the delegate? Seeing none, thank you very much, Tyler. Appreciate it. Okay. The next delegation is Ahmed Omran.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I hope you can see me.
5 minutes, sir.
Thank you very much. I don't think I need all of 5 minutes, but I'll use them wisely. My name is Ahmed Omran. I'm the Director of Community Real Estate and Asset Management at Success, which is a nonprofit society that I think is familiar to a lot of the council members. We, amongst other things, we operate a number of affordable housing units in Richmond. We have about 155 units of affordable housing in Richmond across 3 properties, and 1,200 across the Lower Mainland in about 12 properties. So our operational history in Richmond is long, and we've partnered with the city staff and council on those initiatives with much success. We've also partnered with BOSA Properties and Van Prop on this project. It's been a collaboration over the last couple of years now. I'm very, very happy working with them. They've been very receptive on our recommendations and our needs as an operator. And I'd like to mention a couple of things that they were very good in working with us on, which is the standalone building. There's a couple of comments earlier on why was there no towers or more towers. We're actually very happy to see that the Lemur units are in a standalone building that is separate from the strata units and the rental market units. That gives us operational efficiency and operational control over those units. And that's something we advocated for. Also, the unit mix, I'm happy to hear that the council is happy with the Lemur unit mix, with the heavy weighing on the 2 and the 3 bedrooms. That's something also we've discussed with BOSA and Van Prop, and we're happy that they've listened to our recommendations. The last thing, which has not been discussed, is the design and the finishes within the units. While it is not very advanced at this point in the design, they have been very receptive to our needs based on our operational experience operating affordable housing units. I'm very, very happy that this project is on the table and is moving forward. The faster we can build these units, the better. We've just opened 21 Lemur units in another project in Richmond, and I could not believe the length of the waiting list for those units. They were filled within a couple of days, and the list is very, very long for people within the community that need affordable housing. So the sooner we can build this building and others, the better it is for the community. And I'm very recommending to move forward, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I do have one. You mentioned you were dealing with another group in Richmond. How can you assure that Richmond residents would get a priority into this development should we come to fruition?
Absolutely. That is something built into our application process, where we ask the applicants if they live and or work in the community, and we prioritize people that are from within the community through our application process. So before we actually admit anyone in the building, we develop the waiting list, and we put the people that are living and or working in the city on top of that list. And that's something we've talked about with Van Prop and BOSA as well, where they went an extra step to actually work within the community and the local businesses to give a certain priority for people who work close by, so that we can increase the the word I'm looking for is quality of life, where their commutes are no longer very long to commute to their work, so that they can live within a walking distance or a short commute to their work.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions? Any questions? Okay, thank you very much, Omar. The next item, our next delegation is Alex Ma.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you and see you. Welcome.
Perfect.
You have 5 minutes. Oh, can we change the time on her? Hang on. There we are. You're on.
Okay, perfect.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm a resident of Richmond. I grew up here. I basically lived here my whole life. So I'd like to just share my support in the first phase of the Lansdowne redevelopment. Over the past few years, I have heard news about it. It kind of went quiet for a little bit, but it's great to see things moving along, especially in that area at a transit station, just because, the lot is so massive that it'd be great to kind of see the space used at its fullest capacity with everything that is planned for it. But yeah, I mean, it's also great. I'm really happy to hear that there's going to be housing options added to it as well. I grew up here my whole life, so I'd like to stay here and, start a family and raise kids here as well, rather than go out far to like Langley and whatnot. So, yeah, I also kind of agree with the comment of larger units and multiple bedrooms would be great, just so we can kind of grow into the space as well. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to add, and I look forward to seeing it progress further.
Okay, thanks very much. Any questions? Thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate your
Thank
input.
you.
Okay, can I ask staff to come forward? I got some questions of staff on process and what have you. I don't know if anybody else has any questions. If we wanted to negotiate a childcare facility in this, how would we go about it?
Through the chair, with respect to the inclusion of a childcare facility in phase one, or
yeah, in phase one with all these people in the building, whatever.
Through the chair, to include a childcare facility in phase one, that would require a referral back to staff. Staff would need to have the discussions with the applicant regarding that. There would be changes to form of development, and parking is required as well.
But that is a possibility. Okay. The comment was made that 55,000 square feet. If we were to negotiate that to be a building, how would we go about that? Would we do it at this stage?
Through the chair, if I understand the nature of the question, it is how do we secure...
The square footage. I want them to build me a building. So maybe I want to put a community center there instead, okay, to service the beginning of a future development.
Through the chair, that can be accomplished through a minor change to the rezoning considerations. We could have discussions with the applicant and bring revised rezoning considerations forward for the council meeting on Monday, should this proceed with direction.
Okay. If we wish to move the park to the north, what kind of discussion would that have to take place?
Through the chair, that would be a referral back to staff, an amendment to the OCP, and a change to the form of development.
No, I'm asking these questions because everything's in the south. There's nothing in the north. And I'm just trying to check. And if we were to ask for an increase in sustainability, to go up a level in this, to make sure we have it and we start it along the way?
Through the chair, a higher level of commitment to sustainability initiatives. I assume you're speaking
in this phase, yeah,
to the STEP code specifically.
STEP codes 2 and 3.
I think that would also require a referral back to staff. We would need to look at form of development, what can be achieved, and whether any changes to form would be required.
Okay, if we were to refer back, when could you do all these items? When could it be back? In a month?
Through the chair, in terms of all of these items, they are
the ones I've just mentioned. For
these
start.
are significant changes. They would involve changes to the OCP. We would be looking at months before this application comes back to Planning Committee.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Alexa?
Thank you, through you to staff. Don't we actually require them to have a lower step code if they're tying into the district energy utility that they're then passing over to us?
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, I wouldn't say we require a lower level. the city's provides an incentive-based solution. So if you are connected to the city's low-carbon energy system, we do provide a break in the requirements versus if you were not connected to the city's
Right,
district
so they
energy.
could build, say, passive house and then not be attached to the district energy utility.
Through the chair, that wouldn't be possible in this location, given the existing commitments secured through the OCP and the city center district energy utility bylaw. So there is no ability for this site to not be connected to the city's district energy utility without amending agreements secured through the OCP amendment and a revision to the city's district energy utility bylaw service area.
Okay, so for our district energy utility, an operation of scale is what we're looking for, and that's why we're getting everyone to build into the whole system. Is that correct? That's why we're not trying to make it so that people do their own thing.
Through the chair, I'm by no means a district energy utility expert, but yes, economies of scale do apply.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Jack?
My question is, if we approve this recommendation, is there still some room for us to negotiate or, bargain with the developers for some minor changes? Like, maybe we want a bigger space, bigger park, or, shift the things a little bit here, there. Is this written in stone once we got it approved? Or, if, in the process, we want minor changes, that still can be negotiated?
Through the chair to Councillor Rao, changes to use or density must be dealt with prior to the public hearing.
Does that answer your question? Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, are there any questions of the applicant? Okay. Okay, it's moved in second. Okay. Any discussion? Well, I'd like to be able to support this, but I'd like us to try to negotiate some childcare on it. And my concern here is, again, a question back to staff, that can't be done between now and Monday?
Through the chair, securing physical space in this development could not be done by Monday.
What about a commitment?
Through the chair, that would not be possible. It would require amendments to the zoning. We would need to provide additional density. There would be changes to the parking layout, form of development.
Okay, all right. Carol?
Yeah, I wish I could support it too. I used to live at the corner of Lansdowne and Garden City, so where that Shell station is now. I used to play at Lansdowne and run across the track, and I have great affection for the area. And you're almost a victim of your own success and the importance of Lansdowne. It literally is the center of Richmond. And I just have a few things that I'm concerned about. The 3 bedrooms, the lack of those. I'm concerned that this 14.5 meter wide linear park is just a waste of that 20%. I think we could do a much, much better job. I'm concerned about the lack of childcare. I'm concerned about so many things. And I think it's worth taking another kick at the can on this one because of the significance. So we had a problem over here at Richmond Center. Unfortunately, it was pre-zoned and we couldn't get the builders to do what we needed to do over there. So now we're going to get like thousands of units, no increase in the width of Minaroo or 3 Road, and I think it's going to be a congested mess. So I learned a lot from that development. Unfortunately, we couldn't do anything about it, so voting against it was all I could do. On this one, I think we need to take another kick at this can, so I'm not going to support the motion as it sits, because I think that it's too important to not get it right. Thank you.
Andy?
Thanks, and through the chair. I'm absolutely supporting it because it's very important that we move forward, especially on this phase, the affordable housing part and the rental part. We talk about this all the time. The argument that we have to get it right is a bit of a circular argument because that's kind of in the eye of the beholder. So what one person thinks is right might be different from what another person thinks is right. So we might not ever have the perfect solution that satisfies everybody in every way. I do have a quick question though, and that is with the childcare, I think everybody is in favor of childcare, just like we are of schools. But if you put it into this phase, it takes away square footage from something else, which would be affordable housing in my mind. Childcare space can be negotiated in subsequent phases, can it not?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, yes.
Okay, thanks. And I know we're dealing with just the one section right now, but just in terms of, the jewel in the crown of Richmond and walkability and parks and all that, if you look at other cities around the world, like San Antonio and the Riverwalk, Champs-Élysées, whatever it is, wide walkways are often what just make a city more cosmopolitan and vibrant. So I like that part. But I'll be supporting this today with no hesitation whatsoever, because affordable housing is important and we have to move forward on it. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you, Chair.
Jack?
I support this to go forward because I think nothing's perfect. I've expressed some of my concerns or criticism of this plan. And to be honest, talking about the linear park, I've been critical of it, saying that this is not really a park. But again, we have 5 people here, and each of us would have a different perspective. And if each time, after we make a major decision, we say, oh, no, I want to come back because, I still have one issue that I am not satisfied. I think this would just get on, in circular. And we know that we have a housing crisis. We know that we need more supply. And just going back and forth, and having further delay of this project, I don't think it's going to be beneficial to any people, not the developer, not the people in the city, and also not to the city as well. Nothing's perfect, but this is what I can accept for now. And that's why I think let's move forward. And if there's further new negotiations that we have to make, let's when the time comes, let's really address it. But for now, let's move forward, because we have bigger issues to address instead of trying to make everything to be perfect as everybody would be happy about.
Okay, Alexa?
Thank you. I'll be supporting this as well. We've been looking at this for a number of years. Many of us have been on council for that whole time. And we saw the beginnings of this park originally. And yes, it's a beautiful park, and maybe it's going to be the heart of Richmond. But there's tons of parks around it. A short walk away is the Garden City Lands. It's a different kind of park. It's a passive park. A walk in the other direction, you get over to the waterfront park that's going to be that linear park all along the water. Over at Minaroo is a huge park as well, where there's also a big, huge park. And putting all the park in one space, great, everyone comes in and walks around and does whatever they do, but it's nice to spread it out a little bit too. The linear park actually saves a whole bunch of mature trees. We have a ton of mature trees along Lansdowne, and that saves those trees. We've heard from other council members, we've heard from people that we'd like to save some mature trees if we can. That does that. And it also makes it a nice, pleasant walk. So if you're going from towards the Oval or the Waterfront Park, all the way over to the Garden City Lands, that's going to be a nice walk. It's going to be nice and shaded. It is already nice to go and walk around the Garden City Lands, but there's not that much shade there. This is going to create a nice swath of shade, and it's going to actually make for a nice place to go for a walk. And then there's the extra green space there that you're actually going to be able to, sit, eat your lunch, hang out with your kids, do whatever. I think childcare will come. There's 8 phases of this. So there's commercial that's coming, there's whatever our amenity space, whatever we decide to do with that. I don't think we want to decide right now that we're having a community center or a library or a theater or whatever. Like, what we decide in 10 or 15 years may be something totally different than what we do now. We've seen the change of how libraries are used. We've seen the change of how people live differently. We've had a pandemic. We've had all kinds of things which change how people live and where we get together and what we do. And there may be another big change coming forward. Who knows? Maybe everyone's going to, breakdancing's coming into the Olympics this coming year. Like, who knows what people are going to want to be doing together in that community space. And so to overly be prescriptive right now when this is a long project that we're getting into, and if we don't start, we can sit here paralysis by analysis and never get there. We have to start. This is the start. Let's get going on this, and let's see what happens. There's always going to be changes and tweaks. I don't think anyone's going to be sitting here in 30 years crying that, we built some housing and people are living there. I think this is a good start, and we'll see it as it comes together, and there will be changes along the way. Thank you.
I'll just wrap up then, and we'll have the vote. I don't think we're getting enough. I say that to a developer. I don't think you're giving us enough. You think you're giving us everything. Yeah, you're using Lemur and Market, and you're providing housing. Okay, it's going to benefit some people. It's not benefiting the whole city of Richmond. And you're doing the park and everything else because you have to do it for the people that are going to live in there. Okay, you're not giving us enough. And I want more. And if this goes through this time, when the next one comes, and I hope it comes very shortly, we're going to ask for more. Okay, there's no way. We blew it on City Center, okay, because we should have asked even for more there. And it's great to sit around the table and pontificate and say it's great, but what are we getting as a city that you didn't have to do anyhow? Look at it very carefully and analyze it. So anyhow, we'll see what happens, but I'm going to express my vote here, and we'll talk about it later. But in my opinion, we should have more. Yes, you followed the minimal standards and the minimal amounts, and you're getting it away with a steal this time, obviously it appears. And right now, it is not the crown jewel. Let's try to make it that. Okay, with that, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Okay, those opposed? Myself and Councilor Day and the opposition is carried. This will go to council on Monday night. Oh, sorry, Mr. Ersick, sorry. We haven't adjourned.
If I may, before we adjourn, are we adjourned?
No.
Okay.
We're not adjourned.
I think that I've heard some things here today, and I just want to share with you what we intend to do before Monday night. So at a staff to applicant level, we will have a conversation with the applicant around, you do have 45 three-bedroom Lemur units, but we will have a conversation about 3 beds in the market rental. I don't know where that will go, but we'll give you an update on Monday. I also heard that there was interest in a childcare in a subsequent phase. We can have that conversation before Monday. And then I just want to touch base on the amenity building, which is a significant building. What I think I heard from committee is you want to make sure that we preserve the option for council to ask for a bricks and mortar building with no cost or other risk, if that's in fact what you want. And so that Mr. Craig made reference to it, that may require a minor revision in the conditions of rezoning. So we will report out on that to you on Monday as well.
Okay, thank you for that summary. Thank you. Okay, any further move adjournment? I'm sorry? Do we have any managers? Oh, sorry. Okay, come on forward. No problem.
Yes, very quickly and through you, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to advise committee that NAIOP Vancouver has awarded the city Most Business Friendly as part of their 2023 awards for municipal excellence. The award recognizes municipalities that have excelled in creating environments that are positive for businesses. Richmond was specifically identified and given this award because of our fees and approval timelines for industrial developments remaining generally consistent over the years, as well as the amount of industrial space and planned construction. Staff will arrange to present the award at council on Monday, February the 12th.
Excellent. Well done. Thank you.
Okay, just a very fast, quick update. The Rapid Housing Initiative building permit was issued on February 1st as promised, and it's underway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? Seeing nothing, move adjournment. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.